As of right now, we're entering into a quiet time in the NBA. Free agency is well behind us, and Summer League is also coming to an end. There are definitely different storylines that we can follow right now. For example, James Harden and Damian Lillard, but truth be told, none of that really apply with the Warriors. However, Bleacher Report released a new article a few days ago and it's quite interesting. Their writer Grant Hughes came up with this article here titled "One New Trade Idea for Every NBA Team," and of course that includes the Golden State Warriors. And let me tell you, it's another big trade. In the article, he has the Golden State Warriors sending Chris Paul, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and top 10 protected first-round pick in 2026 and 2028 to the Clippers in exchange for Paul George. Now, this is a pretty big trade here because Golden State is giving a lot of assets, but it certainly fits with the storyline of flipping Chris Paul before the trade deadline, so it can definitely happen in reality. And this isn't just something random because last month, Mark Stein reported that the Clippers were gauging league interest in George. Quote here, "These sources tell the Stein line that the LA Clippers have left various rival teams with the impression through their draft week conversations that they are at a minimum attempting to gauge Paul George trade value, and to hear them describe it, giving real consideration to the idea of disassembling the Kawhi Leonard-Paul George tandem." Now, this means under the current setting, Paul George is available to a trade if the assets in return make sense for the Clippers. In today's video, let's talk about the possibility of Golden State getting Paul George and see if the amount of assets they're giving out makes sense for this team long term. So without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Hi. I'm on my match in the dark. 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 I'm on my match.
Yo, what's up guys, Jason's here back with another video. If it's the first time watching, I mostly cover news and reports for the Golden State Warriors, but we also occasionally make content for every other team in the league. So if you want the latest basketball news and rumors in your feed, all you're gonna do is to leave a like and subscribe so that you won't miss any of my future upload. To start things off, let's review the trade package one more time. The Golden State Warriors are giving the Clippers Chris Paul, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and 2 top 10 protected first-round picks in exchange for Paul George. To me, this is in the ballpark of the amount of assets it would take to get Paul George because, again, he's still one of the best players in the league today, even at the age of 32 years old. This past season, Paul George was averaging 23.8 points, 6.1 rebounds, 5.1 assists, and 1.5 steals per game, while shooting 37.1% from behind the arc. Now, in terms of the assets Golden State is giving out, let's talk about it one by one here. Chris Paul is the first one and the easiest one. We have to include him to match the salary, and honestly speaking, I don't mind trading away this 38-year-old guard on this Warriors team that is already loaded with different kinds of guards whatsoever. I mean, of course, Chris Paul can be the leader of the second unit, but again, exchanging him for a guy like Paul George, I'm all for it. On the other hand, I also don't mind trading away Moses Moody because ever since Golden State took him in the draft, it just feels like he's there, but you don't feel his presence. This next season is going to be his third year in the league. And honestly, I just don't see him getting more playing time with the Warriors because, like we said earlier, Golden State currently has 7 guards on the roster, so playing time for these young players is even more limited. If you also consider the fact that Golden State took another guard in the first round of the draft, Moody's playing time will be even more restricted. Now, trading away Kuminga is a tough one to swallow here because no matter how you argue it, Kuminga is definitely one of the better rookies Golden State has developed recently. This past year, his playing time went up a little bit and was averaging almost 10 points, 3.4 rebounds, and 1.9 assists per game, while shooting 37% from behind the arc, which is a lot better than his previous rookie year. Honestly, if he stays with the Warriors next season, I'm confident that he can give us 15 plus 5 every single night. But one thing here is we don't know how much he will really develop because again, we did not give him enough playing time these past 2 seasons. There's no doubt that Kuminga is a young rising player with a ton of potential, which is exactly why so many teams out there were asking the Warriors if Kuminga is available through a trade earlier this offseason. Now, a more ideal trade to me in this case would be Golden State sending out both Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins along with Moses Moody and those 2 picks here. But in exchange, I want both Paul George and a serviceable veteran guard all four from the Clippers. I mean, sure, Golden State already sent out both James Wiseman and Jordan Poole. Keeping Kuminga should still be a top priority because he is only 20 years old and is trending in the right direction. And most importantly, his position is really important for this Warriors team. Now, there are multiple sources saying Golden State is not shopping Kuminga in trade market and they will honor Kuminga's request with more playing time. Of course, this can be true, but it can also be the Golden State Warriors trying to add more trade value onto Kuminga. You never know. Now, the last piece of assets Golden State is giving out is those 2 top 10 protected first round picks. Just for some quick background information, a top 10 protected pick means that if the pick ends up being the top 10, then that pick still goes to the Warriors, and instead, a different pick is going to the Clippers, and the most common example would be the first round pick in the year after that. Now, this here is very interesting because for the Warriors to end up with a top 10 pick, they have to have a bad or mediocre team. And having those 2 picks being top 10 protected is like getting one more life insurance. Because imagine Golden State tries to get Paul George and afterwards the team somehow go worse. If that's the case, those 2 picks here, which are of course protected, will give the Warriors a lot more flexibility to either draft young players or flip them for other players. So this definitely makes a lot of sense in this case for Golden State. Now, for the Warriors themselves, getting Paul George will be a huge upgrade. They can now have an ultimate small ball lineup with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Paul George, and Draymond Green. Every single player on this lineup can play defense at a high level, and most importantly, everybody on this lineup can shoot the basketball at a high level, maybe except Draymond Green, who is an average 3-point shooter, but this is still very exciting. And don't forget, Golden State now also has Dario Saric, who is a big stretch forward. So now they can have a lineup where everybody can shoot the basketball without compromising size. Of course, there are also times where we can put Kevon Looney in there because unlike the old lineup where they have both Kevon Looney and Draymond Green at the same time on the court, having Paul George means that the opposing defense cannot double team anybody or else somebody is going to have an open shot. Financially, Paul George has 2 years left on his contract, with his last year being player option. So for the Golden State Warriors to get this trade done, they're gonna be confident that they can sign Paul George to a new contract. Otherwise, they're just taking all these assets away for a 1-year or 2-year rental. But now the question goes to you guys. We know that Golden State will likely move Chris Paul before the trade deadline and get a star back in return. But which player do you guys want from that Chris Paul trade? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Alright guys, that's all we got for today's video. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and follow me on social media with other links in the description box down below. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.